I was not ready. I'm going to start by answering some of your questions, the most pressing and popular one being, where do I sign my life away? Well, I regret to inform you that I have no clue how to find it. I wouldn't recommend searching for an application because, as some of you super nerds already know, Cerber is also the name for a type of ransomware. My only advice is to pay attention to advertisements on websites you visit. As for the Slenderman claims, I cannot confirm nor deny that I was in the same vehicle as this individual. Partially because I'm not allowed to, but mostly because I have no clue if that's who was in my vehicle and I'm scared to find out. Tonight has been insane. A lot of you have had some solid advice that I ended up utilizing. I got waterproof seat covers, let's face it, water is not the concern here, and salt-free snacks. I had a hard time finding where to get finger foods, so I just got unsalted nuts and dried fruit. I had no clue what paranormal entities ate, so I took a stab. I learned quickly that paranormal entities couldn't care less about almonds or dehydrated nectarines. Can't say I blame them. I tried my best to get a good night's rest after the strange evening I had. Part of me was too shaken to sleep. The other part was partially excited on what my next rides would be like. I eventually gave up on sleep and went to the general store to pick up some snacks, water bottles and seat covers. After coating my car in as much vinyl preventative measures as humanly possible, I treated myself to enchiladas and a cold Pepsi. After my meal, I felt accomplished enough to attempt sleep again. I was awoken by another unknown call again at 11:47 p.m. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who was calling me. I eagerly picked up the call, nearly dropping the phone. I have questions. Adeline burst into giggling hysteria and replied,
I'm sure you do, Jim. What would you like to know?
First off, I held a finger in the air, ignoring that this was a phone call and not a physical confrontation. Why the hell are you calling me so late?
Last we spoke, it was this exact time. You answered then, and I figured if I call you at the same time, you'd answer at the exact time.
She said calmly and slowly. Good point. I carry on with my false confidence, trying to pretend I don't feel stupid as I sound. Second, I wanted to know if the payment I received was a mistake. I asked, chewing on my thumbnail.
No, not at all. Was that not proper compensation? It appears that Ray gave you a pretty generous tip. Would you like to file a dispute?
I could hear her clicking her mouse again. No! I yelled into the phone. Mostly because I didn't want to see what happened if anyone pissed Ray off. I cleared my throat and continue. No, sorry, I just feel like it was maybe too generous. Why was the fee so high for Ray? I'm so afraid of the answer.
Jim, I can assure you that the compensation was not an accident. Do you remember the part of the application where I asked you if you had a spouse, relatives, children, or friends?
My heart found its way into my colon. I knew where this was going. Yeah, I remember. I practically croaked my answer and my throat felt so dry.
Well, to put it as gently as I can...
She stops clicking her mouse.
The riders that you're transporting are not typical beings like yourself. Most of them are harmless, but some...
Insert long, unnecessary pregnant pause.
Can be dangerous. If something were to happen to you, we would prefer not to worry about liability lawsuits. It's not that your life bears little meaning. It's just business, Jim.
I sit back and recall my answer. I have no one. I answered no to that part of the application. I let the answer sink in for too long and hear Adeline chime in.
Are you still with us, Jim? Do you have any more questions?
I closed my eyes and tried to gather my thoughts. Yeah. What sort of amenities and safety measures should I worry about? I asked, rubbing my very stressed-out temple.
We'll start with the uncomfortable topic of safety measures. Get the ugly one out of the way.
She begins with a soft yet sinister tone.
You should get yourself an airtight container to hold sage and a lighter inside. Sometimes certain entities can leave behind an unseen residue, and the moment you feel a heaviness after your passenger has exited, You'll want to burn some of it in your vehicle until you feel the tension has dispersed.
I scurry to find a pad and pen to write this down. She continues.
You'll also want to invest in a raincoat or poncho.
A raincoat? Adeline? I ask in exasperation.
Yes, Jim. A raincoat.
I roll my eyes and continue to make my list.
Make sure you invest in a face mask, protective eyewear, and booties. You can never be too careful.
She finishes. All right, I complete the rest of my recommended items list. Now, what about the amenities?
That depends on how willing you are to get your hands dirty for your riders.
I could hear the smirk.
Just how important is it to you to ensure that your riders receive the highest quality experience?
Not very, I say defensively. I'm sure the government has already tapped into my line by now. I just want to drive and maybe not die. Extra steps sound like they could tamper with that. She lets out a chortle.
Is there anything else I can help you with, Jim?
No. I feel no more confident now than I did before picking up the call. Thanks, Adeline.
No problem, Jimmy boy.
Her sickening disposition returns as if this is all so normal for her work nights.
Can we count on you to continue driving for us?
I stare off into the bedroom wall, chewing on that question. Why shouldn't I? The money is right, the work is interesting. I make my own hours. I'd be an absolute fool to turn this down. The worst that happens is I die, and after discussing the pitiful state of my private life and the lack of people therein, it doesn't seem so bad. Yes, I say, switching the phone from one ear to the other. Yeah, I'll keep driving for Cerber.
Wonderful! Good luck. I'll be in touch.
Thanks. Have a good night, Adler. The line went dead before I could finish. It was already after midnight. It's time to get my ass into gear. I don't have time to pick up the safety items. I survived without them last night, and I feel like I'll get more ride requests on Friday night. Safety gear is going to have to wait. I park at a local donut shop that remains open 24 hours. It's not tacos, but I can get a churro there. Close enough. My phone dings with a request from someone named Borg in a residential area just 4 miles away. The final destination was a 12-minute ride to an old industrial building that I thought was shut down. I accept the request, dust the cinnamon sugar off my shirt, and start driving. I'm instantly relieved when I see that the request didn't come from Ray. He was nice enough, but his potential is absolutely terrifying. I pull up to the very plain and vapid home. It was well kept with a brand new fence. It was just ordinary. So far, so good. Then walked out Borg. Again, he was tall. He was a mammoth of a man, standing at least 7 feet tall, jaw slack with a large set of tusks weighing down such massive jowls, dripping with saliva. Borg was dragging a very large hammer, wearing mild construction gear, including a hard hat, tool belt, and cement-crusted boots. My eyes were wide, drawing in as much of this creature as my retinas could handle. "Jim!" he bellowed, as if trying to call my attention from across 4 football fields. My body started vibrating. I replied with, "Borg?" I don't know what compelled me to be so risky as to yell at him, but my body was going rogue at this point. "Yes, Borg!" Borg opens my door with shocking delicacy, climbs into the back seat, accidentally slamming his hammer on his own foot. He didn't flinch, but I totally caught that. Borg stares at the back of my headrest, breathing like a hog with bronchitis. He had the breath bad enough to gag a maggot. "Just getting off to work?" I ask, trying to stave off the wet snorting sounds from behind me. "Yes, Borg build friends. Borg need beer." Oh, buddy, I can relate. "Jesus, Borg, do you have a volume dial? Tone it down and break the knob off, for the love of God!" I finally snapped. This is how I die. To my surprise, Borg lets out a thunderous cackle so loud that I'm sure it gave me prostate cancer. "Jim funny! Borg like Jim!" I give him a weak smile and decide to just focus my attention on the road. We're rounding the last turn of the trip. I pull up to the abandoned warehouse, and it's just as dilapidated as I remember. The metal walls and roof were coated in rust, the wooden beams poking out of place with dry rot and patches of unkempt weeds swallowing up any semblance of a driveway. I come to a complete stop, and Borg plunks his massive boots onto the gravel. He gracefully closes my door and walks over to my window.
Thanks, Jim! Go sleep! Jim look bad!
Are you fucking kidding me?
Good night, Borg. Go sleep. Borg too loud!
I bark at him with a grin. He grins back and begins his short, seemingly painful walk to the front doors of the building. I caught myself half smiling as the doors to his murky mansion shut, when I was violently interrupted by the realization that the smell Borg emitted had not followed him out of the car. Oh no, this was so bad. I quickly drive to the nearby gas station to assess the damage. This giant, sticky man-fetus was making all that noise for a reason. He literally shit his own pants in my back seat, and his internal matter leaked everywhere, leaving big Borg butt-cheek imprints. My night was clearly shot. I bought some paper towels, bleach, air fresheners, and a few taquitos from the gas station I stopped at. It took me a full 2 hours to clean this hazardous waste out of my car, but I was still able to alleviate the blasphemous evidence from my back seat. It was around 3:52 a.m. when I finally finished. I remember Adlin saying that the highest hours of operation ended around 4:30 a.m., so I went ahead and put out a ready signal trying to salvage my night. How I wish I would have gotten Ray instead. Anything else would have been better than this traumatizing experience. I got another ping almost instantly after putting out a signal. At least I had another fat payout to look forward to. Then I noticed something strange. The request was coming from the very gas station I already parked at from someone named Angela. Stranger still, there was no destination that followed. Albeit bizarre, I figured it was an app malfunction, and I accepted the request anyway. Immediately after accepting, my back door opened and shut so quickly that it almost sounded like one fluid motion. Hi, James. That voice. There's no way. My blood instantly turns to ice and my body starts shaking violently. This isn't happening. This can't be real. I turn my head slowly, shuddering at the woman who was sat in my back seat. My horrified gaze met with her milky eyes, shattering my senses like glass. Of all the terror, sadness, and despair I've encountered in my life, it's incomparable to what I was feeling at this very moment. Tears involuntarily streamed down my face, my mouth hanging open, hands tensed into fists on my steering wheel, white-knuckling my grip as if I may be ripped through the very roof of my car. This isn't real. It just can't be real. The request came from my dead sister, Angela.